making cities safe again. That's the focus of tonight's angle. So how was your Labor Day weekend? If you followed me on Instagram, you saw what we were up to. Well, this is how things went in Chicago.
After a shooting on the city's south side, police responded to the 3600 block of South Cottage Grove just after 1 this morning, and that is where officers found multiple victims with gunshot wounds. Victims ranging in age from 17 to 36 years old. Police did find 4 guns at the scene.
Well, when it comes to the question of whether President Trump will or will not order the National Guard to be deployed to Chicago to help combat crimes such as this, it's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, "Sir, we need help. It's out of control." And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone.
Well, it's important to note in Chicago, things were more violent this year in the number of shootings that occurred compared to last Labor Day weekend. And the facts in D.C., they can't be disputed. Since his decision to federalize law enforcement in our nation's capital, it's simply a better, safer place to live.
Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible.
Trump's correct, of course, and his approach is not just a threat to criminals. This is key to remember, guys. It's a threat to the Democrats and their stranglehold on the urban vote. That's what really has liberals in a frenzy, voters who think for themselves.
It's just gone from bad to worse to disaster.
No one really feels safe. It's impossible to feel safe in a city like this, especially with the leadership we have.
These kids are carrying guns like around the ages of 8 years old, and they're killing other 8-year-old kids with guns. It's insane.
So the police is really unappreciative for offhand under Brandon Johnson, Lori Lightfoot, J.B. Pritzker. Those are 3 are the reason why nobody don't want to be a police.
Their policies when it comes to crime is not working at all.
But those words fall on deaf ears in city and state leadership. None of them, including Governor J.B. Pritzker or Mayor Brandon Johnson, are actually serving their constituents. Now, if Democrats were as tough against violent criminals as they try to be against Donald Trump, they wouldn't need the National Guard to help them.
We have reason to believe that the Trump administration has already begun staging the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois. I want to be very clear on this point, and I want to speak directly to the press right now. We know before anything has happened here that the Trump plan is to use any excuse to deploy armed military personnel to Chicago.
Doesn't it sound to you like he's auditioning to host a podcast, not to be president? Now, remember, he, just like Gavin Newsom, wants no one to be deported. Illegal gangbangers, forget it. Forget the fact that Obama deported 2.5 million illegals, or that the most vile predators are being taken off the streets because of President Trump and ICE. People like Luis Mendoza Gonzalez from Mexico, he was charged with concealing the body of a missing woman in a storage container in his yard for 2 months, abusing her corpse, and, of course, obstruction of justice. Or Hector Bonaparte Contreras, also from Mexico, he was convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault on a child under the age of 13. How about Israel Kobian Sandoval from Mexico, convicted killer? No. Instead, Pritzker vilifies the hardworking men and women of ICE.
Unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities. You're likely to see videos of them hauling away mothers and fathers, traveling to work or picking up their kids from school. Sometimes they will detain, handcuff, and haul away children. Stephen Miller chose the month of September to come to Chicago because of celebrations around Mexican Independence Day. It breaks my heart to report that we have been told ICE will try and disrupt community picnics and peaceful parades.
It breaks his heart. Any of the victims of those crimes that I just rattled off, did that break his heart? Because I missed that press conference, JB. It is absurd. He's lying, and he knows he's lying. and they're losing this debate on safety. But they can't help themselves. It's like a bad high school theater production. They're lame actors, not connecting at all with the material, just trying to remember their lines.
No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
And then there was even the requisite shout out to the indigenous people.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people? The people united will always prevail.
Okay. Brandon, if it's stolen land, I have an idea. Give it back. Move out of your house and give it back. Until you do that, move on. I'm so tired of that line. Trump says to all these people in elective office, let me help you. And what do they say? No, you're an invader.
Well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they, in fact, do that. I must say it's disruptive. It's dangerous. It tends to inflame passions on the ground when they don't let us know what their plans are.
Let him know what their plans are so his paid activists can put agents' lives in danger? I don't think so. And you know you're losing when you have to, once again, throw down the dog-eared race card.
This president is undermining, is talking about reducing crime, but what he's really doing when you look at it is going after and undermining the power of black leaders in largely majority black cities or cities with majority people of color.
Well, Columbia lecturer. Right, that's why President Trump praised Muriel Bowser today, African-American mayor of D.C. What goofballs, zero credibility. But when confronted with facts, listen to how they try to pivot.
Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
No, he's not. He's working on reviving our great American cities one by one. But Democrats don't really want to solve these problems. They're either too stupid or too radical to act. So they revert to the same failed talking points of 2024.
Aren't numbers like that still a problem that your city needs to address? What more can be done to address that?
What we need to do is we also had a mass shooting in a Catholic school. Trump is a dictator. I think we got to be very clear. He's trying to normalize violence. He's trying to normalize military deployment in American cities.
Oh, my gosh. Well, for decades, we've all known what we have in our cities, which is a crime problem. It's no secret. We make movies about it. We make TV shows about it. And the Democrats have had generations in the power to fix it, but they haven't. They never will. So now President Trump is trying to help Americans who must live in fear of criminals, needlessly so. And what we're hearing from the Democrats is very clear. They do not want crime to stop. They would rather have their citizens suffer violence, suffer from murder and despair, than to do what it takes to make our cities safe. So we've long suspected this. We've raised this repeatedly on the angle, but now we know. And the question now is, how long will the voters in places like Chicago continue voting for Democrats who will never, ever make things better? And that's the angle.
Even Biden's people were getting in on the hoax.
The president has been very vocal with press all the time. I think in August, he spent 26 days doing public events or talking to press. So to go down for 6 days and just have a slew of True Social posts that are very chaotic and people can't follow all of them, it's very concerning. There could be actually something wrong. The problem is we don't know, and they're not being transparent.
That woman worked for Biden. She was the one who dressed up as the Easter Bunny and yanked him away from reporters. That woman. These people thought Trump was dead and Biden was alive. And it's not like Trump wasn't seen. He was seen going to golf every day. Biden went days without being seen. They never asked if he was alive. And we speculated a lot about Biden's health, a lot. But we never thought Joe Biden was dead. And we never wished he croaked in the Oval. But Tampon was downright giddy thinking about it.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and Although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
Timmy's scrolling through his phone, hoping to see news the president's dead? We wished Biden was alive, and they wished Trump was dead. People were texting reporters asking if the president had passed away.
A whole lot of people on the internet convinced themselves that the president of the United States, Donald Trump, was in fact dead. It was everywhere. People I am friends with but aren't into politics were texting me asking if Trump had died. Just to be clear, let's get the good stuff in here. No, Donald Trump is not dead.
How did that rumor spread with Trump, but not with Biden? Democrats were convinced. Over the weekend, there was a video going around of someone throwing stuff out of the White House window, and they said, see, contractors can't work at the White House while the president's there. He must be 6 feet under. Trump hadn't even heard about it. Our very own stupid son of a bitch, Peter Doocy, had to show it to him on the phone. Trump called the video AI.
So that's a fake video?
Well, it's got to be, because I know every window up there. In fact, my wife was complaining about it the other day. She said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. They're bulletproof.
So the White House says the video's real. So that must not be Trump. Has to be a body double. Well, someone was doing interviews over the weekend and posting all night. Quote, 3 days ago, while admiring the stonework, I happened to notice a huge gash in the limestone. It was deep and nasty. Lo and behold, because of the fact that we've installed the finest security equipment anywhere, they brought back the stupid people with their boss watching in sunglasses. It was a subcontractor that was installing heavy landscaping on a steel cart that was broken and tilting badly, with it rubbing hard against the soft, beautiful stone. Something like this should never happen. So Trump fired the contractor and banned them from the White House. So Trump did an interview, golfed, and fired people over Labor Day. He's very much alive. Joe Biden, barely there. Let me give you an example. Trump's replacing Biden's presidential portrait at the White House with a portrait of the auto pen. That pen worked harder than Biden ever did, so it should be honored. Meanwhile, Trump doesn't stop. White House sources says he seems to wake up and say, what else needs to be improved? Every day it's something new. He's very focused on America's 250th birthday and cares a lot about making the city's fountains operational again. He cares a lot about the fountains, quote unquote. Trump's not dead. He's bringing America back to life. And water is life. Even Fetterman says the president has good taste.
The plans are going to be done in a tasteful and historical kind of a way. I mean, they're not putting in a Dave and Buster's kind of a situation here. So I think upgrading some of these facilities seems pretty normal.
The only renovation Biden did was to the White House Situation Room. And when they found the cocaine, they blamed one of the workers. But they never fired the workers, did they? Trump worked so hard they thought he was dead when he took a long weekend off. And I'm glad he did, because the fall is going to be a frenzy. On October 1st, government shutdown deadline. Putin-Zelensky summit, maybe. The battle over the Federal Reserve, RFK Jr. hearings. The National Guard probably going to Chicago. Maybe a war with the cartels. More on that later. Maxine Waters, no relation, wants to stage a coup because the president isn't sleepy.
It is time to call for Article 25 of the Constitution of the United States of America to determine his unfitness, to determine that something's wrong with this president.
Trump is bringing so much change to Washington, they think something's wrong with him. Presidents usually just preside, they don't govern. And do Democrats have a plan to take on a man of action?
You know, you had a lot of online influencers who were jumping on this, grifting basically, trying to make a quick buck. You had other people pushing these ideas for political reasons, promoting the idea that Trump was weak or frail and may not be with us for very much longer. It seemed to me that there are some liberals who have just given up on challenging Trump and are waiting for him to die.
So the left strategy boils down to this. They hope Trump dies. They did try to kill him or have him die in prison. Now they're just hoping for natural causes. Meanwhile, Trump's spending every second of the day thinking, how can I make Chicago safer? How can I make the nation richer? How can I make D.C. more beautiful? And the Democrats are like, did he die yet? They're really not part of making America great again. They could be. They could build big, beautiful things, make college cheaper, force too late Jerome to cut rates. They're just angry. And anger is okay, but you have to channel anger towards something fruitful. So far, all we've seen is nuts.
I want to say to all of them, every genocide enabler, look at this room's mother. We ain't going anywhere.
We're also hearing a lot of funky accents.
Baby, because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you, and the wives is being messy and petty. They putting it in the divorce. I'm like, ooh, that's got to be true.
Greasy Gavin's out there jocking Trump style. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But why doesn't Gavin imitate his policies? What Democrats really want is a dictator. Their dictator.
I would like a progressive Trump.
Oh,
I would like somebody who used the executive pen to say, you know what, we're going to make D.C. a state.
Yeah.
We're going to make Puerto Rico state.
Yeah.
We're going to abolish the Electoral College.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to enshrine protections for women in the Constitution.
Yeah.
We're going to roll back because the very
We're going to add more judges on the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
So Democrats don't care about small d democracy. They want a big D dictator. The next election is going to be about who's the bigger dictator. Right now, they're just mad that ours is alive. But in 28, they're going to put up someone who promises they'll add D.C. and Puerto Rico, pack the court, kill the Electoral College, and arrest Trump again. Republicans better say how they're going to use their power to better serve the people and go even further than Trump has, because the auto pen is not mightier than the sword.
Welcome to Hannity. And earlier today, President Trump made a major announcement in the Oval Office about the Space Force, plus what's going on with free speech in the United Kingdom. A comedian just arrested for social media posts about trans activists, Nigel Farage, who may very well be the next prime minister and has a strong position on Donald Trump-style immigration enforcement in Great Britain. He'll weigh in just a moment. Also, Rosie O'Donnell is facing a huge backlash after her rush to judgment on the church shooting in Minneapolis last week. Wait until you see what she had to say. But first, it was another sad, tragic, yet completely predictable, violent weekend in the city of Chicago, leaving 58 people shot, 8 people dead. The city of Chicago has a major crime crisis, and while President Trump works to find solutions, the state's liberal politicians, they're so blinded by irrational rage and hatred, they are refusing to work with the president to protect their own citizens, their own residents. When asked about this weekend's violence, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker all but dismissed all of the data and, of course, tried to take a swipe at President Trump as if it's his fault. Take a look.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead.
Yeah.
They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
That talking point would be called a lie. 58 people shot, 8 dead. Clearly, he cares more about hating Donald Trump than keeping innocent people safe. I thought all lives matter. Mr. Governor, is that not the case? Mr. Wannabe President Governor? Maybe you should pay attention to what President Trump is doing, because in just a matter of a few short weeks, he has managed to take Washington, D.C. By the way, it had the distinction of being the #1 homicide rate capital city, the highest murder rate of any capital city in the world, and turn it into a relatively crime-free city. Even Mayor Muriel Bowser offered praise for the president, saying Violent crime in her city has dropped 45% compared to the same period a year ago. But if you listen to Governor Pritzker and you listen to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, you would think that the worst thing imaginable is President Trump sending in law enforcement to keep people alive and safe and not getting shot. Governor Pritzker referred to it as a, quote, invasion. Take a look.
No one in the administration, the president or anybody under him, has called anyone in my administration and me, have not called the city of Chicago or anyone else. So it's clear that in secret they're planning this, well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they in fact do that.
Now, while Governor Pritzker was feigning outrage over a non-existent invasion, Mayor Johnson, he took to the streets to ask people if they were ready to defend Chicago, whatever that's supposed to mean. Take a look.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land?
Defend against law enforcement? Does that sound like a potential threat to law enforcement? Does to me. Now, these performative stunts from Pritzker, Johnson, have not deterred President Trump from trying to save American lives. Earlier today in the Oval Office, he told reporters he is sending federal law enforcement into Chicago, like it or not. Take a look.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape.
Now, the saddest part of all this, these deaths, these shootings are preventable. The good people of Chicago do not need to live in constant fear for their safety. You cannot pursue happiness. If you don't have law and order, safety and security, it is impossible to pursue happiness. But this is not a new problem. For years here on this program, take a look at your screen. For years on this program, since Obama became president, we have been scrolling names you never heard of before, of people shot and murdered in Chicago, victims that you won't see or hear about on any other network. Governor Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, people are dying in your city. 58 people shot, 8 people dead, and I'm holding all of you accountable because you don't care. You're not lifting a finger. These lives matter. What will it take for you to understand that you and everyone else on the far left are on the wrong side of yet another issue? You are failing the people of your state, of your city, who are now begging you for help. They want to be safe and secure. They want to be happy. They want to find their purpose in life. Why did God create them? But you are so blinded by rage and hatred of Donald Trump that you'd rather push your failed defund, dismantle, no bail, reimagine the police with social workers, radical ideology. We know it doesn't work. In a press conference earlier today, Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson doubled down, tripled down on dumb, dumber, stupid, and crazy. Mayor Johnson even trying to blame red states for Chicago's crime problem. Can't make this one up. Take a look.
When did we become a country where it's okay for the U.S. president to insist on national television that a state should call him to beg for anything, especially something we don't want? Have we truly lost all sense of sanity in this nation, that we treat this as normal? I can't live in a fantasy land where I pretend Trump is not tearing this country apart for personal greed and power.
Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
Unbelievable. Mayor Johnson also signed an order aimed at resisting Trump's planned federal law enforcement operations in the city of Chicago. It's meaningless. Once again, the left is on the wrong side of an important issue. At a minimum, it's an 80-20 issue, probably a 90-10 issue. Law and order, safety, security, common sense. Anyway, coming out as pro-crime, anti-safety, is such an outrageous position to take that even MSDNC's liberal Morning Joe, now he may be trying to save his job from low ratings, maybe, and maybe he's trying to make a pivot, I don't know, but he actually made sense for once. Take a look.
I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, and say, you know and I know you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard here and to police my you can do that in D.C., you can't do that in Chicago. But let's partner up. Because right now, just hey, nothing to see here moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, you know, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. Well, protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity.
All right, let me be clear. Mayor Johnson, Governor Pritzker, they're failing the people of Chicago, and their lives are not safe and secure. Violent crime is out of control across the city and the state. Again, 8 people dead. They should be alive. 58 people shot. They shouldn't be in a hospital. These were preventable. But instead, 8 funerals are now being planned while dozens more are dealing with gunshot wounds. And still, the state's liberal politicians are so blinded by rage for President Trump, they're refusing to keep their own residents safe. Our very own Nicole Parker was in Chicago today, speaking to the people in that city. Let's see what they had to say.
What do you think about President Trump? He's offered to provide assistance to help make Chicago safe, to bring in potential National Guard, potential, federal law enforcement officers and agencies to give help to Chicago. How do you feel about getting help to make your city safe?
Help is needed.
How do you feel? Do you think that protecting and making Chicago safe, should that be a political issue?
I think Chicago can take all the help we need. So if it turns into a political issue, then tomato, tomato. If it works for the environment, for the safety of, the people, then I'm with it. Yeah.
National Guard coming here is not going to stop anything.
I think it's a good idea. Because, look, we need more. I mean, what's wrong with more help?
Right. Let me explain something. When you step outside your apartment or your house, you're in a war zone. You don't have to be in Iraq and Afghanistan. And if you think I'm lying, let's check out the news every day.
He's only going to Chicago and every state that is a Democratic state. Tell me why.
But you think that President Trump could step in and help?
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, I don't see no harm in that.
Thank you. You'll probably feel differently after the show. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So Greta Thunberg's boat to Gaza was forced to turn back to port just hours after leaving. Aww. Apparently, she forgot the bowl she uses to trim her hair. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's net worth skyrocketed from $51,000 to $30 million in just 1 year. Yeah, but the most outraged over this revelation is her brother, who never got a cent of alimony. Google it. In a new video, Rosie O'Donnell was sporting a massive cold sore. Oh, come on. It's actually the first time we believe that someone got herpes from a toilet seat. Might be the worst joke we've ever done. Over the weekend, baseless rumors that President Trump had died circulated wildly on social media. Welcome to the club, said Joe Biden through a Ouija board. Yeah. Representative Jerry Nadler announced he's retiring after 34 years in Congress. He's citing a need for change, referring to his trousers. Now, I'm not going to say he ruins a lot of pants, but his dry cleaner did kill himself. But if I know Nadler, we haven't heard the last from him. That's the first time we used sound effects in a monologue, and I think it went really well. China will reportedly unveil the world's most powerful laser tomorrow. In America, experts are already planning to use it to remove Rashida Tlaib's mustache. New York GOP candidate for mayor Curtis Sliwa announced he has a plan to take care of the city's rat problem by unleashing thousands of cats. So what do you do then with all those stray cats? Good question. Bill Belichick embarrassingly lost his first Tar Heels game as head coach, 48-14. The only thing worse would have been if the score was 73-24. Wild crowd. And finally, in Canada, landlords are giving young women free rent in exchange for sex. So guess who just bought a ton of property in Toronto? All right. A lot of fun people here tonight. Crazy town. All right, so the media has no principles but one, that my problems are more important than yours. It reminds me of an old girlfriend. And by old, I mean she's 35. For example, take CBS's interview with Kristi Noem about the Maryland dad. You know, the one-man crime spree the left treats like Mother Teresa with knuckle tats. When Noem spoke the truth, they snipped her answer like it was Morning Joe's balls. Here's her full response that viewers did not get to see.
And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America. This individual was a known human smuggler, a MS-13 gang member, an individual who was a wife beater, and someone who was so perverted that he solicited nude photos from minors. And even his fellow human traffickers told him to knock it off. He was so sick in what he was doing and how he was treating small children. So he needs to never be in the United States of America, and our administration is making sure we're doing all that we can to bring him to justice.
Now, that was the original. This is the edit that they aired.
And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America.
But I heard you say that we're going to let the Justice Department do that. Does that mean the push to deport him to Uganda is off?
Where'd it go? I haven't seen an edit that bad since they tried to air Debbie Does Dallas on the Disney Channel. There's a callback. But it illustrates the media's MO. The crimes of an illegal are not the problem. The problem is how we protect the illegal. We are expected to sideline our concerns because the media decides who hurts most. Sound familiar? Well, after a man who believed he was a woman killed kids in Minneapolis, pronouns were top of mind.
Since she identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage, it's now Robin Westman.
He hated a lot of different groups. It wasn't one ideology or another.
We're going to have to leave it there. That is Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you for thinking of us. Thank you.
And just a point of clarification, Senator Klobuchar referenced the shooter as he. Although police have identified a suspect, it's still unclear at this time what that person's gender is or how they identify.
All right, I'll clear it up for you. How about we call him or her, whatever it is, mentally ill, unbangable, hate-filled, bigoted, pigtail-wearing douchebag. They didn't have to finish. Even better, a douchebag who is now identified as deceased. I only hope they got the pronouns wrong on the toe tag. But don't you love it? It took Jake Tapper and his fellow detectives 4 years to figure out Joe Biden was a human zucchini. But call a killer with pink hair and a penis a him? Well, Jake's on it like mass murder, she wrote. We see the same thing with Trump's crackdown on crime. They don't care if you get carjacked. They care that Trump's using the National Guard. I mean, after 54 were shot in Chicago over Labor Day weekend, the city still rejects Trump's help because being a victim is your problem. The bigger problem is authoritarianism. So that's only 3 examples, but there are plenty more. And every time we are compelled to accept that their concerns are on a higher level than yours. Their problems beat your problems, which then either get belittled or just ignored. You know, it's like your buddy's girlfriend who tries to set you up with her cute friend. Oh, you're told she's got a great personality, but she eats paste and cuts her hair with a Flowbee. But that's her problem, and it matters more than yours, which is you don't want to date her. It's the same thing with the media. Every day you got to take one for their team and pretend their chosen problems matter more, even though most of them aren't even real to begin with. It's why we can have rampant crime while our government focuses on drag queens in Ecuador. Sure, they have fun names like Jennifer Bropez or Eva Slongoria, but maybe there's better use for our tax dollars. It's why they welcome gangs, sex traffickers, and fentanyl, but deemed white supremacy the real threat. They didn't care if you can't afford eggs, if your daughter shares a locker room with a dude, or if an illegal just drove a truck through your living room. Systemic oppression, toxic masculinity, gender-affirming care, those were the special problems that outranked yours. In fact, your problems aren't problems at all, just bigotry. Now, everyone has problems. Some people have trouble making friends. Some have bad breath. Some struggle with both. But the moment you make one of your problems special over everyone else's, you're a loser with a selfish agenda. And it's more transparent than the Speedo that got me kicked out of Dollywood. And it's why voters flock to Trump while viewers of the so-called news are disappearing like the hair on Chuck Todd's head. Americans gravitated towards the man who treated their problems like his own, while telling the media that the real problem was them. Let's welcome tonight's guest. Nice. She went from interviewing rockers to avoiding elderly stalkers. Host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. His shows are so quiet, he gets booked at golf tournaments. Comedian Adam Hunter. Her baby claims her as a dependent. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Kat Tiff. And he has to take out a second mortgage to pay for back-to-school supplies. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA World Champion. You know, Kennedy, by the way, I love your Fox News grandpa sweatshirt.
Thank
You're
you,
the
Greg.
only one that could pull it off, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to do that later. But enough about Brit Hume. All right. I'm just joking. I was just making that up. Leave me alone. Kennedy's a great people, very smart woman. You know, I think sometimes we get bogged down in the identity groups.
You think?
Yes, I think we do. But I think what the issue that has tipped off people, and they couldn't explain it until now, is that we don't like it when we're told other people's problems matter more than our own. And I think that's the mistake the Dems made.
You're absolutely right. And that's why their elitist groupthink has landed them in polls, because they have convinced everybody else that this group of problems supersedes those of you and your family. And they didn't realize that the personal issues and trials that families go through on a day-to-day basis are the only thing that matter to them. And, you know, it's like when you're a parent, you're programmed to be selfish and take care of your family. That's kind of how it should be.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that, but you are vilified if you admit that you want your kids to be safe, that you want your kids to learn math. You know, that you want to be able to send them to college or a trade school at some point. It's like, no. We're not going to talk about dead children. You know, I'm going to apologize to the NPR audience. Unfortunately, Senator Klobuchar misgendered the shooter, and it's like you think about those parents who just lost their kids. Do you think they're going, oh, I feel so relieved now that we can identify the shooter as her? That makes everything better. That they have appropriately gendered her.
Yeah, you make me think of other things about schools, like if you wanted your child to go to an honors class, but they got rid of it because the bigger problem is inequity.
Yes.
So it's like you want your
can't
kid
be special.
Yeah, kids can't be special. So that it keeps playing in different areas. Adam, you have many problems, and no one cares.
No.
Nobody cares.
No. My therapist self-deported.
And it's weird because she was born in America.
She was. But you know what? I had a feeling that even when I heard it, that the school shooter was not a female, because you don't see a lot of female school shooters because women don't want to end your life; they want to ruin it. but
leave it to you.
But the real issue though is. If they're going to talk about the trans thing, is we got to stop medicating all these kids and giving them all gender-affirming care and shooting them up with things or taking stuff out because they're kids, you know, and it's crazy, and it does seem like there's sort of people are had enough, even with like the Algerian boxer. First they said it was a female, and then she tested positive for XY chromosome. So now they're making females take a test to prove they're female. They're going to have you parallel park.
I was either going to see the parallel park joke or do an algebra problem. But you did the parallel park. And I applaud that from here without even using my hands. Kat, what did you make of the CBS interview with Kristi Noem? Do you buy their excuse that they were just doing it to save time?
Yeah, but you cut out some pretty important stuff.
I didn't know that the guy was demanding nude photos from children?
I didn't either.
That's the first time I heard that.
The first time I heard it, too. And look, I'm not a polling expert, but I do feel confident in saying that solicitation of child porn, wife beating, and murder are all wildly unpopular with voters.
Also, unpopular with human traffickers. The human traffickers didn't want to be around this guy.
Yes, exactly.
Even they had values. They have more values than Chris Van Allen.
Yeah. I do think that Democrats make this mistake so often that I don't understand how it keeps happening. I really don't, because you just have to let yourself just be a human sometimes. Because I really do believe, maybe I'm putting too much faith in the world, but I really do believe that when any human hears about something like this shooting, their head doesn't go, oh, they're not actually upset about the pronouns. They actually are upset about something else, but they feel like they have to. It's all because they feel like they have to.
Yes.
So I feel like if you stop doing so many things that you felt like you have to, you realize not only do you not have to, you're going to actually come off like a normal human being. That you have to be inside.
Don't add that extra layer of signaling to what you really feel like, Tyrus. I also, like, when you look at the state of a lot of the people who act like this, their lives aren't really together either.
Well, your life can't be together when you have somebody on an interview talking about a shooting and children's dying and people being injured, and you were so offended. That's what is when she said she sped up and ended the interview. Y'all not catch that? Like, oh, I'm sorry, we're out of time. Because she had to get her virtue signal in.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happened, you stopped getting information. People were sitting on the edge of their seats wondering what's going on with these families, because we know that there were other people shot. Did they die? Are they making it? Like, that's the information that people want to know. And you ended it to say, well, we didn't know that it was a he or the gender. It should have been, as soon as she walked through that interview, her boss should have been waiting for her, going, you're fired.
Yeah.
Like, you are absolutely... And here's the thing. You're not helping transgendered people. You're reminding and you're virtuing of you, making sure your bases are covered, that people that are upset, that people are looking for someone to blame because the man who did this is dead.
Yeah.
So you now are reminding everyone of the problem that's being shoved in their throat down there, and they contribute to the bigotry because they're the ones who are trying to remind everyone that it's gender this or it's trans that. Shut up.
That's such a good point. I didn't hear one trans person like, hey, come on.
Yeah. Trust me. Listen, as a brother for a long time, I used to, when I heard a report, I'd be like, please don't be us. Please don't be us. Because it spreads. Like, oh, one does it, they all do it.
Yeah.
And that's what this.
I'm the same way when I see guys around 5'9", 5'10" committing crime.
Oh, please.
I'm like, God.
5'4".
See what I mean? See what I mean? Huh? I identify as 5'10". I don't expect you to say I'm 5'10". Just accept that I'm 5'10".
Well, facts don't care about your feelings, Greg.
You also added some weight to what he said earlier, where a woman doesn't want to kill you, she just wants to ruin your life. That 5'4" goes right into the ruining life.
It'd be funny if all of a sudden you heard NPR. We apologize. He's actually 5'4".
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.